Hello and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, Ghana Revenue Authority hits town to confiscate beverages without tax stamps. Also, the Association of Ghana Industries warns Bank of Ghana to cut its policy rate further to 18%, describing recent reduction as insufficient.
Something in the teens. Between 18, 19 would have been the best target. But I mean, they're being cautious, considering where we're coming from, a few underlying factors.
My name is Winston Taki. We have more in business updates right here. Stay tuned. And out of us business story, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is in town to impound some smuggled beverages believed to be evading excise taxes. The move is part of measures by the GRA to clamp down on non-compliant retailers and manufacturers across the country. Addressing the media before embarking on the exercise, Commissioner of Domestic Tax Revenue Division at the GRA, Edward Appleton Jamire, explained that the revenue from excise has been a significant drop since the beginning of the year as a result of the influx of such items into the country. My colleague Eben Sabut is part of the operations and joins us for more. Eben, what can you tell us about today's operation?
So, as we've been reporting from the afternoon, the team from the Customs and Excise Preventive Service, Preventive Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, are in town today to check some products that have not been affixed with the tax stamp. If you could remember, some few years ago, Parliament passed a law that every beverage that is being produced or even imported into the country must have the tax stamp affixed on them as a way of taxing the products. But it appeared that up to now, some products are still in town without the tax stamp. And following on a complaint by some of the manufacturers, the team from the Ghana Revenue Authority decided to hit town today to confiscate some of the products. So as we speak, some of the products are being confiscated that are later going to be taken to the customs office at the GRA.
Which areas or specific retail outlets were targeted in today's operations?
So the exercise began at the Kantamanto area, where we see some of the products. That part of town has been a major hub of trading when it comes to this beverage product. We also went to Tudu, and as I speak, we were told that this is our last place or last operation area, which is around Adabraka. Yes, we just returned from Tudu, where we see many of the products. And if you can see behind me, some of the products have been taken into the truck over there, and there are more that are being taken out from some stores, some retail shops over here. So currently we are at Adabraka, but we have been to Kantamanto, the CMB area, Tudu, and currently we are at Adabraka. From here, I'm sure the exercise will come to an end, and then later we'll continue from here.
Great. What kind of beverages are being impounded? Are these mostly foreign or locally manufactured products?
Right. So I can talk of Malta Guinness, I can talk of Beta Malt, I can talk of other fruit juices. I can see some Don Simons and other products, paper wines, that are being produced outside the country. So you could see that some of these products were imported into the country. And, it begs the question, how come they were able to smuggle or take these products through the borders, enter the country, and then even town to the point that retailers are retailing them before some manufacturers will have to complain for the preventive department to do this exercise. So as I'm saying, yes, it's just basically most of the products are non-alcoholic beverages over here.
Evan, help me understand, how are the shop owners or manufacturers reacting to the presence of the customs officers?
So initially they were hesitant. You know, most of the people didn't really know what was happening. So when we came out from the vehicles and started entering the shop, they were looking at us. Some were hesitant to allow us into the shop because, you know, some of the team members were, I mean, in their gears, their uniforms and stuff. So they were a bit hesitant, saying that, oh, what we are doing will not help them and blah, blah, blah. We are taking the goods away. But afterwards, the team from the GRA explained to them that is a very critical exercise because we need to rake in revenue. And like I mentioned earlier, the Commissioner of Domestic Tax did say that excise tax or excise revenue has seen some significant drop, and there's a need for the team from the GRA to do something to rake in the revenue. Don't also forget that it is hurting manufacturers as well. So yes, the manufacturers are happy that we are doing this, but the retailers are not happy. And as I speak, some retailers are even confronting the team over here as I report. So it's not been easy for them, but this is what the manufacturers want. So it has to be done so that we can save Ghanaian companies.
Finally, did the GRA indicate how long they are going to sustain this operation?
This is just the beginning. Hearing from the Domestic Tax Revenue Commissioner, this is just the beginning. This is an exercise that is going to continue until they have seen that the law is being complied with, or until all the products in the market have the tax stamp on it. So I can't tell you when we are ending this exercise, but I can tell you that this is just the beginning of a very long exercise that it's going to happen. And I can tell you that it's likely to happen till December when everything is stabilized before they stop.
Thank you very much, Ebenezer Sabote, for bringing us update on GRA's recent visit to some shops across town, trying to get to ensure the appropriate and well-manufactured product from the Ghanaian market find their way back into the market instead of imported ones. So we'll certainly bring you up-to-date information on that. Now, away from that, the Association of Ghana Industries is making a strong case for further cuts in the policy rate to 18% before the end of this year. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana earlier this month cut its key lending rate to banks by some significant margin to 21.5%. But President of the Association, Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake, says it is still not enough to stimulate the necessary growth to support industries.
It could have been better. And you realize that the voting rights, I'm told the majority vote was about
4 out of 6.
Thank you. So we were expecting something in the teens. Between 18, 19 would have been the best target. But I mean, they've been cautious, considering where we're coming from, a few underlying factors and threats that they believe could derail this. But I think they've got some comfort targeting the year. I recall in one of my engagements in the MPC report, the activities and technical report, and that which came out was the concern about the tariffs. What is likely to happen if the tariffs rates were that high, and the last quarter tariff that came out was about 1.14. And I therefore believe that the intent of the BOG and the fiscal to attain a single digit is possible. So for the close of year, I guess they'd be on the right path, and that is signaling a lot of confidence in the economic front. So the policy rate, we could have done an 18 or 19. That could have been a reasonable figure. But let's see what happens by close of year. And then that then sets the tone for the incoming year, where we'll see a lot of uncertainties that we believe the trajectory will follow with fiscal prudence, monetary policy indicators, and we hope other factors that we'll discuss.
Did you think that they will have no excuse in their November deliberations because now the fear was the tariffs?
That was one of the
1.14.
1.14. That was one of the
now they've seen all the shocks.
Yes.
Now they can do a huge cut in their next meeting.
Well, from between 21 plus to 18, that another 200 to 300 will be significant to set the benchmark for the incoming year.
The Association of Ghana Industries has revealed that sales and consumption of products have dropped significantly since the beginning of this year. This is despite the economic recovery from inflation slowing significantly, which would have impacted demand for goods. Speaking on PM Express Business Edition, President of the association, Dr. Humphrey Ayim-Dake, says the current liquidity squeeze is affecting purchasing power of consumers.
Its model. And what is the inflation target model seeking to do when it deploy monetary policy tools? Taking excess funding in the cash or liquidity, excess liquidity in the system. And this excess liquidity that are taken out of the system, of course, will affect consumption. That is the theory. So as they deploy that, of course, there'll be a trade-off. So consumption will, of course, be limited. And that's why we are asking them, stimulate the economy. How do you stimulate it? If you are doing construction, you could stimulate to significant construction. And that is why you watch government deliberately is coming with road construction project on a massive scale and complement it with agriculture, which will be a food basket to complement that aspect. It's a deliberate strategy to stimulate the economy through construction and the food basket. So for now, per the question, as long as you are running the inflation target model, where excess liquidity is in the system, the BOG will deploy tools to suck it up, and that will affect consumption.
So I get you from there that sales is also not doing that much.
Well, it cannot be excessive sales. You may not.
Has it dropped because the Ghana Association of Beverage Association was talking about dropping by 70%.
And that is what I've
demonstrated. Is there a situation for
you.
Industries as well that sales has dropped as well?
That's what I've demonstrated to you through the theory of the monetary.
Joining us now on Zoom is economist Professor Patrick Isumid. Prof, it's good to have you here with us on Business Live. Now, what do you make of concerns coming from the Association of Ghana Industries and the Food and Beverage Association that sales and consumption have gone down since the beginning of this year, and they are likely is going to squeeze some liquidity by the Bank of Ghana?
Good evening and good evening to viewers, and thanks for having me. Well, I think it's an interesting thing to hear about the issue with the sales and consumption, because when you look at the data that the Ghana Statistical Service has released, first quarter, household consumption expenditures grew 5%. Second quarter, 12.2%. So if the businesses are saying that, consumption is going down, then something must be amiss. Something must be amiss, because the official data that has been put out doesn't suggest that consumption is going down. So it must be that people are consuming, but the previous report you played, maybe goods are finding their way into the Ghanaian market. That shouldn't be, because people are buying goods and services. I mean, if you look at the GDP number that's been released, this is the GDP from the expenditure side. It says that household consumption expenditure is growing, it's not reducing. So it must be, there's some disconnect somewhere. People are definitely buying goods and services.
Prof, can we describe this as one of the negatives of fiscal consolidation, or let's say the cost of stabilizing the economy?
Well, not necessarily. If demand had been dampened because the government is not spending and there's not much spending in the economy, then you will say, yeah, maybe it's a direct effect of fiscal consolidation. But like I'm just mentioning, the data doesn't actually suggest that. It just tells you that there's still some work to do in terms of how the structure of the economy, and the fact that the sectors that are growing perhaps are not sectors that are connected to local industry. So I think that's probably where we should be looking at, building more interconnectedness and the linkages to ensure that when we say services are growing, then we want to see local industry growing. If we say if construction is growing, we want to see local manufacturing growing. So, but if construction is growing, for instance, and most of the items are imported, then it will have very little bearing on domestic manufacturing sector. So I think it's really building stronger connections within the economy. And then also, again, the economy is recovering. There's no doubt about that. But I think we need to be intentional about where the recovery is coming from. the domestic production, and also making sure that the sectors that have a lot of Ghanaian participation are also growing, and they are seeing the benefit of the growth.
Great. The Association of Ghana Industries is pushing for further cuts in the policy rate to 18% before the end of this year. Is that feasible? Where you see it?
I'm not so sure. I think that, I have been somewhat critical of the substantial cut we've already seen for two meetings. For two meetings, we've seen 650 basis points cut. I think that's quite a huge cut. And yes, the expected fuel utility adjustment appears that perhaps the 200% plus that were being discussed is not going to happen. But look, I think there's still a lot of fragility in the economy. And I think it's important that the monetary authority proceeds cautiously. So I think another huge cut in the next meeting would be a little bit of too much.
So what margin sounds reasonable for you from what you say?
So I think we know that the advanced countries are planning to cut this. Let's see how the U.S. Federal Reserve will cut the U.S. rates. Let's see what the Bank of England will do. Let's see what others are doing. So if they also do substantial cuts, it gives us more room to also cut without bringing pressures on the currency. And then also let's see how our own economy evolves. So I think through the first half of the year, the economy has been doing well. Let's see if it continues to do well. And then also let's keep our eye on the currency.
Okay.
That, it doesn't continue to see strong depreciation. Then that way it gives more room for the central bank to perhaps cut a little bit more.
We appreciate your time here on Business Live sincerely. Professor Patrick Sumi is an economist speaking, throwing more light on the demand by the Association of Ghana Industries. Now we take a short commercial break. When we come back, we have more business updates. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Live. Now to more business stories. Some real estate companies are urging greater government support to help bridge Ghana's housing gap. Speaking to Joy Business after a press conference, Public Relations Officer of Sukasa Properties, Daniel Kofi Awukwasare, stressed that enhanced government backing is crucial to addressing the country's growing housing challenges. He also reassured stakeholders of Sukasa's financial stability and reiterated the company's commitment to completing ongoing housing projects. His remarks follows a month of allegations and concerns raised by some customers.
And has repeatedly mentioned that on its own, it cannot deliver the housing deficit. Now, the housing deficit stands about 1.8 million units as of even 2022, 2023. And I know the index keep, changing for the worse because population is increasing and we're not doing much in terms of infrastructure provision. And therefore, since we've aptly positioned ourselves to help nip this problem in the bud, it is the right time for the government to engage with us. It's the right time for the government to find out what the challenges are for us as a private sector. Facilitating the environment is very cardinal. Even if you need foreign direct investment, you need to facilitate the environment for them. But I am surprised that the pattern of behavior we have seen for which this press conference is organized doesn't seem to promote the facilitation of the local industry. We always want to kill our own. We're therefore inviting the government effectively that we are relevant stakeholders. And for that matter, they need to really get on board with us.
That's all for business here on Business Live. Today on Beyond the Numbers, we're assessing whether Ghana is ready to return back to the Eurobond market, and that is what is coming up shortly. Enjoy, sit behind, and enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye-bye.